Okay, so I should be live right now on the Insurancepreneur Vault page. I hope that you guys are hearing me loud and clear. My name is Arnitha Webb. I'm with Insurancepreneur Vault, and this is a brand new YouTube channel. So if you find me here, please make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you can get notifications for any time that we're going to come live. You could be catching lives from myself, Arnitha Webb, or from Ziva Israel, my business partner, or from other guests that we have here. Okay. I have been talking about doing this live today all week, and some of you have sent in questions. You've added your topics to the agenda that I started. So I'm going to be addressing some of those questions right now when we begin. And if you find me streaming, come on, join me and put in your questions. I have the YouTube channel, if I have this right. I should see your questions coming in, and I'll be more than happy to respond to you right here in the moment. If you don't know who we are, well, first of all, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe here on our YouTube channel. Again, it's a brand new channel. Also, follow us on IG. You can follow me directly, Arnitha Webb. Definitely follow our business page, Insurancepreneur Vault. Follow us on Facebook, Be Your Own Boss, Insurancepreneur Vault, Be Your Own Boss. We primarily work with agents and agency owners. We help build agency owners and agents to surpass that six-figure mark in online insurance and financial services. That's what we do in a nutshell. We service people domestically here in the United States and abroad. I am an expert in international insurance, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. The topics that I sent out on the agenda was airline cancellations, baggage loss or stolen. How do you handle pregnancy? I did get a question in on handling pregnancy while living abroad. So I definitely have some answers for you with that. What if you're diagnosed with a health issue while you're living abroad? All my Blacksit people, come on in. If you're seeing that I'm live here on the YouTube channel, please pop over because I know I talk to you a lot in the Blacksit Global community. Um, but just not to waste time, let's dive right in because this is all about me responding to your questions. That is the purpose of me coming to you today. So I'm going to go right into the first question that I got this week when I said I was going to do this, and it was uh, if you find out that you're pregnant, how is that handled when you're living outside of the United States? It depends on what type of coverage you have. So there are, to break down international health insurance, you have international medical, international health. Yeah, let me back up. You have travel insurance, the very basic, that button that comes up after you buy your airline ticket and it says, do you want to add on travel insurance? That is your very basic um, travel insurance. It covers the least of everything. So that is not really what we're talking about here. I don't specialize in travel, quote unquote, travel insurance, just covering, lost bags. What I specialize in is much more comprehensive. It caters more to today's professionals who are really traveling extensively, are definitely living outside of the US for several months at a time, a year or more at a time. Okay. Now, so you have travel insurance, you have travel medical, you have travel health. Now, to hone in on the question as to pregnancy, it has a lot to do with the plan that you've decided to purchase. Now, prayerfully, prayerfully, you've spoken to me in advance, and I've made sure if you're in those childbearing years that you have a plan that's going to cover you if this was to happen, right? So, in most policies, they look at pregnancy in three stages. They look at prenatal, childbirth, and then post care, right? Three stages. So Fundamentally, most of your comprehensive international health insurance plans will cover you for all three of those stages. Okay. Again, we're not talking about that button that you select at the end of what, when you buy your ticket. We're not talking about travel insurance. We're talking about international medical insurance, right? If you have a plan that is excluding it and you think that this, could happen, you're in your childbearing years, you definitely want to increase the level of coverage that you have. Now, in most cases, you will be covered for all of those. What's important to pay attention to, though, is that the prenatal is built in and not just the childbirth. Now, let's look at roughly around the world, childbirth will run you anywhere between $6,000 and $13,000, right? $6,000 to $13,000, give or take wherever you are in the world. But what about your care, during those 9 months? You want to make sure that that prenatal is really built into that. And then the question becomes, well, after the child is born, is my policy going to cover my newborn? So you want to make sure you dig into the weeds of your policy and make sure that it's covering the newborn. Fundamentally, most plans will cover your newborn for basic care, like your the newborn vaccinations, overall, head to toe health screening, blood work. Blood work, vaccinations, and head to toe health screening. Most of the time, that's going to be covered. And then at that juncture, of course, you would be adding on a child to your plan. Okay. I hope that I believe that really zeroes in on the question that was sent to me this week to add to the agenda. Okay, so plans look at three things: prenatal, childbirth, and post. Okay. Another question that I keep getting because of what's going on with all the airline cancellations is, if I have purchased an international travel plan, if you will, am I covered for cancellations? You have to look at it a couple of ways. One is, most of the time when airlines are canceling flights, they're providing some type of recovery, some, whether it's, putting you on the next flight, um, giving you some type of refund, giving you some type of credit. Insurance is always meant to mitigate risk and to bring you back to the point of whole, not for you to sort of, have a windfall. So if that airline is actually bringing you back whole, then you may not have a claim to also submit to the carrier, to your insurance carrier. But if the whatever the airline is doing is not bringing you back whole in its entirety, then you may be able to submit a claim to cover whatever they're not covering. Now, what I have seen happen, keep in mind, Insurancepreneur Vault, we're brokers. We're not captive agents. We're not beholden to any one insurance carrier. Our goal is to have the right policy for you as an individual. So, broadly speaking, what I'm seeing with a lot of the international plans is they are adjusting at what point they're kicking in when it comes to these airline cancellations and delays. For example, a policy may say, we reimburse you X amount of dollars, depending on what plan you have, $500, $750, whatever it is. If the delay is 12 hours or more, or 6 hours or more, okay? A lot of the fluctuations here is determined by the plan that you have purchased. Okay, the plan you've purchased and the carrier you've purchased it with. All right, so there's some fluctuation here, whereas one plan may say we cover after 8 hours, another one may say no, we cover after 12 hours. So it really depends. It also depends on if you are talking a leg of travel, meaning from point A to B, okay, you could be traveling international and have two stopovers. Each stop is considered a leg. It could be determined also by whether or not that leg of travel is keeping you domestic or taking you international. So there are some things that could fluctuate here, okay, but I see some adjustments being made in the length of time. How long is the delay? Is it a true cancellation? Is taking you into the next day? Okay. Um, Most of the carriers that I deal with, especially when it comes to international travel, is automatically covering all cancellations and delays, give or take whatever the hourly parameter is. Okay. Um, just FYI, I don't deal with any carriers that only sell domestic travel insurance. Okay. I hope that that answers that question. And again, if you are seeing that I'm on here live and you want to come in and ask a question, I think I should be able to see you. Okay. Next question. Next question. I was excited to get this one because I was definitely going to bring this up today. Um, because unfortunately, sometimes I gain new clients after the fact. And I'm hoping one of our goals with Insurancepreneur Vault is to educate you about insurance so that you are more proactive than reactive. Okay. Now, keeping in topic, we're talking about international insurance. Sometimes people say, well, once I leave the United States, healthcare is so much cheaper. I don't have to, why should I pay a monthly premium or pay for insurance for 6 months or 12 months when I may go to the doctor one or two times and it may cost me less than $100 for the year because healthcare costs are so much lower outside of the United States. Okay. I think that yes, that is a way of hoping for the absolute best, right? But life happens, and unfortunately, I tend to gain clients on the back end sometimes when they're being reactive of something having already happened, and then they get referred to me, and they want to see how can they mitigate some of these costs. Okay, case in point. You're living outside of the United States and you have a heart attack or a stroke or any type of catastrophic event. Um, how are you covered then when you have no health insurance? Okay. Now you may need a procedure that's, in that country may only be, 10, $12,000. Whereas if you had it here in the United States, it may be 50 or $60,000. But let's say it's $12,000. That doesn't mean that you really want to pull that from your own bank account to cover it. This is where your insurance, having a international health insurance plan, does kick in. Also, I'm going to bring up some scenarios that unfortunately I've seen too many of just in 2022, of people living in countries, United States citizens living in countries without a health insurance plan, and then having a major health event occur. And they're either draining, exhausting their funds or their bank account to cover the cost there. And again, the cost may be a lot cheaper than that of the United States. But in one case, the person needed some long term care. Now, to cover their long term care along with their regular um, household budget, it was taking their income, it was draining their bank account at the speed of light because they were having to pay for the long-term care, okay, the nurse 24/7 and what have you, and all the medications and what have you. And so it became a real financial drain on them, and they wanted to know if they could then at that point purchase some health insurance to kind of start picking up some of that cost. Well, you're in the middle of that health event at that point. And so the coverage is not going to come in. And if it does come in, it's going to be at a very high premium if you're in a situation where you need long-term care. It's not, but let's just look at it like it's not going to come in the middle of that and then start picking up the cost for you. This is something that you should have in advance. And let me just tell you, international health insurance is not that expensive. It is really not that expensive. We think in terms of healthcare expenses in the way we think of it here in the United States, but you could get a policy to cover you at a diamond level of care for in some countries under $50 a month. So it's worth looking into, and it's better to have it than to need it and not have it, right? Um, another thing that has come up in this year is people living abroad, and the health event that has happened, the health scare that has happened, requiring an extensive amount of long-term care, or it's going to be an ongoing issue like a stroke or multiple strokes. And then they need to, or they want to come back to the States so that they could be around family or loved ones that's going to help them provide that long term extensive care. Um, and they're not in the best of health to travel back, and they have no insurance to provide any type of medical evacuation, um, because they didn't buy any kind of insurance. This is why you think of these things and you put the health insurance, the international health insurance in place beforehand. Um, the price that I got from one of my families that needed to return to the States, their father was having multiple strokes, was upwards of $10,000 to $15,000 just for to cover the type of care he needed in flight. Um, and so, as you can imagine, this became a major expense on the family, a major thing to get their loved ones back to the state, and then getting them back to the states, coming into the states without any insurance, and then getting insurance started there. As a matter of fact, they were actually turned away from a hospital when they landed back in the United States. So that was really unfortunate. So I bring that up to say that when one of the things that was on our agenda today was critical health events, strokes, heart attacks while abroad, you don't we don't we don't foresee these things happening, but if they do, you want to have the coverages in place so that you can get the care that you need and deserve. Now, the benefit of having this in place, God forbid if it were to happen, is that if you're not in a English speaking country, when you have your insurances in place, you are guaranteed to have the concierge in place, the English speaking concierge, so that you are aware and you understand all of your options and everything that that you need to know to make the right decision for your care. Okay. So you want to have these things in place, and all insurance is not created equal, all international insurance is not created equal. So it's important to look at your unique set of circumstances, your age bracket, your the country that you're going to, and get whatever it is you need in place before you go. Now, post COVID, most countries are automatically requiring it. And when you apply for your visas, especially, a lot of countries now have actually moved that date up where they're requiring that you show a declaration page of at least a year, 12 months in place of health insurance. And very easy to get. It takes just a simple application, and you'll have all your documents in place that you need, and you'll have peace of mind, right? Another question that came up that I want to address, and we're about 20 minutes in. We were going for like 15 to 20 minutes today, but I'm going to address one more question. I see someone. Okay, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it from the list, okay, that came through my DM. And it had to do with loss of income while living abroad. I got two questions about this because I added it to the agenda. The first question I got was, well, what does income have to do with having health insurance while living abroad? It sounded like two different topics to them. So, number one, Insurancepreneur Vault is insurance and financial services. That's number one. Number two, insurance is a financial services product. So, I'm going to ask you to shift your thinking when you think of the word insurance. Um, Shift how you think of insurance, because insurance can be used a number of ways depending on which vehicle you purchase, which kind of plan you purchase. It is very much a financial vehicle. So now let's hone in on how it relates to your insurance policy and you losing income. You can purchase an insurance policy like a disability plan that will cover you in terms of loss of income. Now, of course, I speak to a lot of people that are planning their exit, that are planning how they're going to spend a year or two outside of the US or even leave permanently. And so, one thing that I hear a lot is that, I'm looking for that remote job that's going to give me the maximum freedom so that I can live anywhere that I want to live. That's wonderful. But a job in and of itself is not a guarantee of anything, right? Anything can happen. You can be let go. I was on LinkedIn earlier this week and a woman got her dream job at a company, her dream job. 2 weeks later, got a notice that for whatever reason, she was being laid off from that dream job. So getting that remote job doesn't guarantee you anything. It just means in the moment, today, you may have that remote job. But what if you don't have it tomorrow? Or what if something happens to you? What if you're in a car accident, or something happens, and doing your job involves you typing and using your hands, and all of a sudden you can't, and so you're going to be out of work for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or what have you. Okay, what happens during that 6 week span of time that you can't work? That's where an insurance policy, an income protection type policy, a disability policy can come in, because it is a form of disability if you can't perform your job, right? That's where that comes in. And Insurancepreneur Vault can help you with that no matter where you are in the world, give or take. A couple of countries that we cannot cover, of course, like Ukraine, Yemen, Syria, so forth, North Korea. Okay. Um, but that's where you want to have a backup plan in place so that if you can't draw in your regular income, you can still have a policy that is going to pay you a percentage of your income. So you definitely want to contact us about that before you leave, right? Okay. If you're in those childbearing years, you want to make sure you consider that if you get pregnant while living abroad, if you need a disability plan, if you need some type of loss of income plan, if you want to have coverage, because these airlines are acting real crazy with the cancellations. Okay. If you want to have access to emergency funds, things like that is covered in your international plan. Something can occur and you need access to $500 cash right then and there. Well, that's something that you can use your insurance policy for. Okay. So there are several things to consider before you get to the departing gate. Okay. And especially if you are planning to be outside of the United States for a considerable amount of time. Mind you, I'm not talking to the people who are doing 2 week vacations. I'm talking about our digital nomads, our people that, are going to spend a month or more outside of the US. 6 months, a year or more outside of the US. These are the things that you need to have in place to be a responsible traveler. Okay. It's not good enough to just, leave and shoot some good Instagram pictures up on the gram. Like, really be responsible so that anything that occurs, you are covered. You have peace of mind. And it's doesn't cost a lot. Trust me, it does not cost a lot. What costs is when you need these coverages and you don't have them. That's where the cost comes in. Um, so that said, I covered the airline cancellations, the pregnancy while living abroad. If you're diagnosed with like if a critical health event happens, stroke, heart attack while living abroad, loss of income while living abroad. If you want me to delve a little deeper into any one of these topics, or if you have any topics that you want to add to our agenda, just feel free. I'm going to do my best to keep popping on, answering these questions live for you, and making sure that we keep traveling the world safely. There's no place that we are not. Okay, no place that we are not. Let that sink in. And remember, the world is as big or as small as you make it. Leave your backyard and go out into the world. It is fabulous, fabulous living and options, and the people that you have yet to meet and the things that you have yet to experience are just waiting for you to show up. Just show up where you are safe and you have peace of mind when life happens. Okay. Again, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, Arnitha Webb, Insurancepreneur Vault. We are on Twitter, the Gram, TikTok, all of it. And we are here to make sure you have the information and the plans that you need. I think the next time that I come back, we're going to delve into international life insurance. Okay, we're going to go into domestic life insurance and we're going to go into international life insurance. How about that? Okay, so I'm going to add that to the agenda. So if there's no live question, I'm going to say ciao for now.